Okay, so let's talk about something really strange that happens inside all of our heads. Have you ever noticed how one single emotional story can just explode? It can launch a global movement. But then you hear about a massive crisis. We're talking huge numbers, millions of people, and it barely makes a ripple. Why is that? Well, let's get into it.
It all starts with just one person, right? Someone you can actually see.
Someone who has a name, maybe a hope, a dream. And then you hear their story, and suddenly you're hooked, you're invested. And because you're invested, you act. Your help feels, I don't know, direct, powerful, like it actually means something. Okay, but now flip the script. Think about this.
The scale is just massive, but that connection, it's gone. It's the same exact problem, but we have a totally different gut reaction. So what is going on here?
You know that feeling we just walked through? It actually has a name. It's this incredibly powerful bias in our brains, and it shapes our decisions on, well, pretty much everything, from who we donate to all the way up to major public policy.
So what is it? At its heart, the identifiable victim effect just means we are totally wired to help one single person we can see, someone with a name, a face, way more than we're willing to help a huge, anonymous group. And this is true even if that group is facing the exact same problem. It's like one story pulls you in emotionally, but a big number just pushes you away.
And listen, this isn't just some dusty old theory in a textbook. It is a powerful force that's at play all around us, like every single day. Let's look at a few places you've definitely seen this in action.
Okay, first up, charity campaigns. You've seen this a million times. One ad shows you a photo of, let's say, Maria. She's 7 years old and she needs clean water. And boom, the donations pour in. But then another charity comes along with a statistic. 2.2 billion people lack access to safe drinking water. Now, logically, the second problem is way, way bigger, right? But emotionally, Maria's story is the one that actually gets us to open our wallets.
And what about the news? It's all over the place. A single missing person can literally dominate the headlines for weeks on end. We see their photo, we hear from their family, and there's this huge sense of public urgency. Meanwhile, a report about some systemic issue that's affecting thousands, maybe even millions of people, it might get a tiny little paragraph buried on page 12. That one single identifiable person just grabs our collective attention in a way a statistic never can. This even happens at work, you know? A manager might hear a really personal story from one of their employees about a struggle they're having, and they'll bend the rules, they'll make an exception. But later that same day, they could get a report with cold, hard data on a bunch of anonymous employees facing the exact same issue, and they'll deny the request. Why? Because they're just sticking to policy. You see, a real person creates empathy. An anonymous name on a spreadsheet just doesn't. So the big question is, why? Why are our brains like this? Is it some kind of character flaw? Nope, not at all. It's actually a feature, not a bug, of our evolutionary wiring. Our brains were basically built for a world that looked totally different from the one we're living in now. See, for most of human history, we lived in these small, really tight-knit groups. We evolved to connect with and help the actual individuals right in front of us. A face, that triggers an instant emotional response. A name, suddenly that person is real to you. And a story? Well, a story just lights up all the empathy circuits in your brain and basically screams, help. We just didn't evolve to process, spreadsheets full of suffering. And this all points to a fundamental conflict happening inside our heads. You've got your emotional system. It's fast, it's personal, it's all about individuals. Then you have your analytical system. It's slower, more abstract. It deals with numbers. And when these two go head to head, emotion almost always wins, hands down, because individuals feel real, and statistics, they just feel like, well, statistics. But here's the catch. That ancient wiring can cause some serious problems in our modern world. I mean, this instinct, it comes from a really good place, right? It's empathy. But if we rely on it alone, we can end up making decisions that are inefficient, totally unfair, and sometimes even do more harm than good. Think about it. When we pour all our resources into one super high-profile case, we might be completely ignoring thousands of other people where our help could have gone so much further. It completely distorts how we allocate everything from charity donations to public funding. It lets us feel good by focusing on a dramatic story while ignoring the bigger, messier, systemic problems. And, let's be honest,
It makes us really vulnerable to emotional manipulation by people who know exactly how to pull those heartstrings. When one face means more than a million, helping can become more about feeling good than doing good.
So, what's the solution? I mean, we can't just switch off our empathy, and we definitely shouldn't want to. But what we can do is combine that empathy with some clear thinking. We can make our compassion smarter and way more effective. Let's talk about how. Okay, here's a quick toolkit for you. The next time you feel that powerful emotional pull from a story, just pause. Ask yourself, what's the total impact here? Try to compare the effectiveness of different ways to help, objectively. And be aware. Recognize when a story is being used strategically to trigger this exact effect in you. And finally, push for creating fair systems and policies, not just making one-off exceptions. The goal here is to always remember that the invisible victims, the statistics, matter just as much. And this really brings us to the most important takeaway of all. Stories are powerful. Of course they are. Names and faces are what connect us as human beings. But we have to train ourselves to remember that the numbers, they represent stories too. Behind every single statistic is a real person. So the challenge for all of us isn't to feel less. It's to think more clearly about where our compassion can do the most good. So the next time a single story pulls at your heartstrings, will you also take a moment to ask about the story the numbers are trying to tell?